We sure are, and we're grappling not with the New World Order, with Satan himself.
You know, we ought to find out who's gotten on there called Conspiracy and buy a bunch of them. This is an ancient copy right here.
I have about 10 copies.
Oh, man.
And I never had Gary sign them. I've gotten more books by people and read them and critiqued them and all of that, and I never have people bother to sign them for me.
You were involved in the financing of the original publication, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, the number I've got on this is $5 million in print.
Yeah, but there was more than that. I think they did one more printing after that. And then we had a warehouse full of them. And so we would sell them in batches. And, you know, a box would go out for postage and $5 just to spread them out. You know, we were pamphleteers. We couldn't get on the radio. I think the first one that was successful getting on the radio was Alan Stang. He was on a station in Glendale, California, and I used to go on with him once in a while, but that was in the early 80s. That was 20 years after we started.
And Stang died last year. Eustace Mullins died Tuesday. I tell you,
Eustace was a very good friend of mine as well. In fact, I put Renzi's obit into this issue for tomorrow, and I put a little piece in myself.
In fact, give me a document cam shot for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers. Radio listeners can't see this. It says, you can buy books yourself at quantity price and distribute them as described in Chapter 8. 1 copy, $1. 3 copies, $2. 10 copies, $5. You guys were selling them at cost. It was because your heart was in the right place. That's why it had such effect. 25 copies, $10. 10 copies, 100 copies, $30. 10 cartons, $250. So all of this is going on. 1,000 copies for $250, selling these Operation Counterattack. Look at this. Now, I remember reading this book, and I believe this is even the copy I had back in the early 90s, or I guess in the late 80s. And I remember reading this book, and then years later making my first film in 97 and saying, it's free, basically like None Dare Call It Conspiracy, make copies of it. And again, that's why listeners need to understand. Now is the time to be getting Obama Deception, Fall of the Republic, and Endgame, and Truth Rising, and the other films and books we produced and sell. Now is the time to be making copies of my films, because we're into the 4th wave now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the ultimate time of awakening. I mean, you talk about clawing and scratching and battling down in the literal trenches like Bob and others did 30, 40, 50 years ago. Now the people are ready to hear us, and we're standing on the shoulders of people like Bob. I mean, Bob, how important is it to fight back now?
It's for your whole life and the lives of all of the people, your progeny that comes behind you. Because if you don't beat these people, your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, et cetera, are going to live on their knees. They're going to be enslaved. These people are evil, and you've got to stop them.
You know, that's the amazing thing, Bob. I know you've had a lot of threats. They've tried to set you up, even drove you out of the country for exposing them. And when I get persecuted, it just lets me know how real this is and how important it is. And then I don't even care about myself. It's not even my children. I realize how fast our generations come and go. I'm envisioning my children's great-grandchildren, and that I want them to be free, and I'll do anything to stop them from being slaves. And people are caught up in American Idol, football, things that don't matter, folks, when our entire humanity, who we are, is literally being destroyed right now by a scientific tyranny. We can't give the world up to a bunch of vicious control freaks. And I see all these hollow people who have money, who have power, and they're so unhappy because they've never tuned in to what it really is to be human, and realize that we're all just part of the species, and the measure of who we are and the value of who we are is how we empower humanity. And then once you reach this point, you're not worried about being killed or tortured. You're only worried about beating the enemy. Bob Chapman.
I agree completely. And, of course, being older, and, you know, you're young enough to be my son. In fact, my son's 41 years old. And your fear leaves. There is no fear anymore because you know that your body and your mind eventually are going to break down. It's the causation of existence as a human being. And so you become freer and freer and freer. And, you walk on air. They can't touch you. There's nothing they can do. And that's the time that all of you people out there who are in 60s and 70s and 80s should get together and do something positive and help, because there's so many people sitting around doing nothing when they could be doing something. And if you sit around doing nothing, you're going to atrophy physically and mentally. So let's help out. Don't turn your back on it. Don't be mad because you're going to die. Everybody has to. There's no way out of this world except that way. And so get with it.
Yeah, the world sells us a certain selfishness that being involved or standing up or fighting is somehow weak, and that just caring about yourself and greedily hiding with a bunch of crap and a bunch of baubles is success, when the whole point of humanity is helping your tribe, helping your people, helping build something for the future, because I'm going to die, but my progeny are going to go on forever unless I let these people win. And if people could grasp, Bob, what you and I grasp, and this unchanging total truth, we would free ourselves overnight. And to see the whole world in the grip of the beast, it's just such an illusion. It's such a trance. It's a hoax. It's a fraud. It's a lie. TheInternationalForecaster.com. I think this is one of our best interviews ever. Bob, have a great weekend, and God bless you, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for listening.
We'll come back in the final segment with some final thoughts. Folks, you're not a human being until you stand up against tyranny. You were born to fight corruption. You were born to stand against the king rat.